Welcome, welcome everyone to season 2 of Vibin With G. And today we have some of my best friends and Servin Sonic hosts. I'll let you know about that a little later. Lee Bater and Hunter Hamilton. How are you guys today?
Good.
Thanks for having us.
Oh,
Yeah.
my pleasure. So I know you're part of the Seneca radio broadcasting program, just like me. How come you decided to join that program?
Lee, go ahead, take it.
Me first? Okay. Um, well, to make an extremely long story short, I had a previous career in nonprofit slash operations management, and then the pandemic hit, and I lost my job along with tons of other people. So I was kind of left scrambling, figuring out what to do next. Operations jobs can sometimes be harder to find fully remote, so I was struggling with that. And long story short, I found a podcast I really liked, and I have always had an interest in radio, always had an interest in podcasts. And I was like, well, what if I go back to school and try and do some audio production or podcast work? I think that'd be really fun. And bing, bang, boom, here I am. Yeah, exactly.
For myself, I was coming to the end of my Bachelor of Arts degree in a theater background, and so I took a job at the University of Guelph, working in the basement, doing being the kitchen porter. So I was moving a lot of the inventory around. Was getting battered every day, but I started to volunteer at the local campus radio station there. I would help out in the music library, reviewing music, and then I remember there was an opportunity to host a metal show, which I enjoy that genre. And so I was amazed at how time flew by when I was
Yeah,
doing
I
that
know. I
show.
like that.
And I thought, I'm like, well, if I can kind of have fun with a job and time can go by like that, then I'll give this a shot. So that was kind of my intro going into radio.
Hmm, that's pretty cool. Different background stories.
For sure.
So to all of you fans watching out there, these guys are podcast hosts, and their podcast is called Servin Sonic. How did it all start?
Yeah, I guess I'll start. There's two different perspectives that you've got here. So there's three of us who do Servin Sonic. So you got two-thirds of Servin Sonic
Yeah.
here with you. Jake not here, but kind of how it started is,
Hi, Jake, if you're
um,
watching.
yeah, hey Jake. Um, Kind of how it started is I have always really wanted to do a music podcast since like getting back into the program. And as I said, like listening to podcasts was a big reason why I went back to school for broadcasting and radio. They're just like a big inspiration for me. And so yeah, when I kind of got my wits about me a little bit and my feet under me, I was like, you want to know what? There's no better way to get a bunch of experience and learn through trial and error than starting our own podcast. So I approached Hunter because he was a big music fan and pretty like outspoken about that and the classes and things like that about being a music fan. And my probably my first passion is music. So a podcast about music was always kind of going to be that that gateway to podcasting. So I approached Hunter and kind of gave him the pitch, what I thought would be a cool show or what we could make. And I guess the rest is sort of history. I know Hunter has a little bit more perspective on that part, though.
Yeah, just in terms of I always wanted to do one, and I had friends that certainly were starting their own podcast, but I didn't really necessarily know how to go about that. I just kind of found it overwhelming because I know that you had to kind of make a lot of the campaigns. But I've been grateful for Lee as well as Jake that kind of been person at the helm, kind of guiding us. Um, as Lee said, it's given me a lot of experience, kind of to fail or to fall or polish up some skills
Yeah.
and there's some self-produced episodes that thankfully I've been able to do, and I'm actually really proud of them of how they turned out. So kind of giving sustenance to projects, but also it's just been a fun thing to grow and see where we go. So I'm thankful that Lee reached out.
Yeah. I'll put Servin Sonic links in the description so you can check them out as well, everyone.
Let's
Cool.
go.
Let's go. Yeah.
Okay. Where did the name Servin Sonic come from?
Oh yeah.
Well, Lee, go for it, man.
Well, we've talked about this recently,
Yeah.
because one of our projects that we had to do, as you know, Graham, is a radio documentary this past semester,
Yeah.
which has a lot of similarities to a podcast. So I thought it would be a like a cool project for me to do my story of how I started doing broadcasting work, like you're saying, and get into Servin Sonic and all that. So Hunter and I had some chats when we were doing that project, and the finding a name of Servin Sonic was so funny because it was just like similar to this, where we're sitting on a Zoom call or whatever, and it's like, okay, all right, okay, what should we name our big podcast project? Yeah, okay,
Okay.
and just the worst names like came out of that. But eventually we landed on Servin Sonic. But one that I do think is very funny that we had is Feed the Funk,
Yeah.
which would have been a terribly named podcast, Feed the Funk. So
Yeah.
glad we didn't settle on that one. But yeah, it just came from us, bouncing off each other.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So, what is your taste in musical background?
I'll take this one, I guess. Well, I've probably been really outspoken about it. That my love for metal, that's like the bread and butter. But in terms of other musical interests, I mean, I'm into all of it, man. And there's a lot of stuff that like I don't know that I'm into it until like I kind of sit with it and take time with it. Or also people's passions, people's if someone like really loves a record, that passion, all I can see is grow, and then it kind of relays itself onto myself. So then it's like then I start getting into it more. So it's a combination of it sounds like a vague answer, but it's like um, people's passions inspire me, and then I also want to have an open
Oh,
heart and open mind going into kind of all music genres because there's a lot that I don't understand. For example, I don't understand country music. I'm sorry, the commercial country music of drinking beer and on my pickup truck. I can't do it. But there's probably a lot that I don't get there. So, but that's just my case.
hmm, I understand.
Yeah, I'd say I'm similar to Hunter too. Like I have an openness to all genres really. Um, there's the occasional country song even that I'll like. Ever heard of Truck Yeah by Tim McGraw? Oh yeah,
No, I
great one. Yeah,
There you
but
go.
yeah, I think I have like maybe like a few favorite genres that I lean towards. Like I really like soul music and R&B and hip hop and stuff like that. But I but I'm open to anything. I feel like if I were to be so staunchly closed off to something that I could be missing out, and I hate feeling like the idea of missing out. I have serious FOMO with everything, including music. So
I empathize with that totally. Yeah.
yeah.
Feel the FOMO. Yeah.
Okay, so here's one last question. Are you ready for it? I'm just
Okay.
kidding. It's not the
I hope
question.
so.
I was just testing you.
Oh, okay.
What can the fans expect for the future of Servin Sonic?
It's tough. It's tough. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I guess the beauty of having three people doing the podcast is we have three different kind of brains to use where we want to go, and ideas that we could flesh out and make happen.
Flush it.
Yeah. For me personally, I think that Servin Sonic really could be like many things. Like it could go so much further. It's a matter of a bunch of different things, though. Obviously, like how much time and effort we can put in, and that sort of stuff will always be a factor. But in my rosiest of pictures of where it could go in the future, I could see it like really being a huge piece of covering Canadian music, which is something that we've always kind of talked about, is we want to highlight Canadian music. And I think, right now we're doing a podcast, but like a website or some like, blogging and stuff like that as well, I think could really be on the table. It's just a matter of getting there and sticking to it. And I think having, maybe some maybe some confidence that we can like pull it off. But yeah, that's maybe where I could see it going.
In terms of for myself personally, yeah, I think just a voice for maybe the up and coming Canadian artists, so we can somehow nurture them and bring them up because there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent within artists that we've covered, and that we're still finding stuff. It's kind of endless in that regard, which I'm
Hmm.
super pumped about. If in terms of just ideas I've thought about like if we were like record live sets, kind of give artists a spotlight to do that. History. I mean, if we're based in Toronto, like history of maybe like famous venues and stuff. But yeah, like what Leah's saying, like yeah, beyond that, like what can we add? Like tell kind of Canadian stories. Get people excited about maybe like the big artists that we love, of course, but then nurturing those smaller artists and or maybe underground bands that they become kind of legendary, yet a lot of people have forgot about them and like being like, hey, remind I always kind of consider like, hey, like this is a reminder, like check out like this artist that maybe not a lot of people know about. So just nurturing that and the great thing that about the podcast is like it's speaking that we have three people, it's like we get to try things out, we get to we get to experiment, like say maybe this worked really well. What was the audience reaction to that? And so it's all like a learning process, so it's good.
Hmm. Okay. Thank you, Hunter Hamilton and Lee Bater. And Jake, I will do you next time for being part of my YouTube series, Vibin with G. See you all next time, and make sure to listen to Servin Sonic on Spotify or whatever platform you use to listen to your podcasts. See ya.